Hey everyone, so I know that in Tom's class you're reading about Theodore Roosevelt, who was the President of the United States, and the development of the Panama Canal, as well as Theodore Roosevelt and his ideas on, I don't want to use the word control, but on influence of the United States influence in world affairs. So I have a supplementary article here that I think will help answer the questions Tom has here from the reading. So what I'm going to do for this video is I'm just going to read the article to you. Then I will post another one up and maybe I'll do some strategies and some think alouds as I'm reading. So the first thing I would do here is before I even start reading is just let's look at this picture here and we can see this individual and we'll just take an educated guess based off what I told you that when we talk about Theodore Roosevelt that this individual is Theodore Roosevelt. He is a president. He has a big stick he's carrying, and maybe the rest of the stuff in the picture is the world around him. Okay, the picture would portray that he's a very powerful individual. For many years, the Monroe Doctrine was practically a dead letter. The bold statement in 1823 declared the Western Hemisphere forever free from European growth into its space. The Western Hemisphere is the western half of the world, where North and South America are located. The Monroe Doctrine puzzled the empire-building powers in Europe. They knew the United States was simply too weak to back up its claim. However, by 1900, the situation had changed. A bold, expanding America was spreading its wings, becoming more and more powerful. When Theodore Roosevelt became president, he decided to bring back President James Monroe's old declaration. A new approach. Cuba was the foundation for a new Latin American approach. When Cuba declared its independence from Spain, U.S. leaders worried that Cuba would not be able to win a war with Spain. The U.S. intervened to help Cuba defeat Spain during the Spanish-American War. Under the Treaty of Paris, ended the war in 1898, Cuba agreed to give the U.S. temporary control over the island. The Platt Amendment of 1901 provided the conditions by which Cuba would gain full independence. But the U.S. was still worried about other countries intervening in Cuba. The Platt Amendment said that Cuba was not allowed to enter any treaty that might be a risk to its independence. In addition, Cuba was not allowed to have a large debt. Debt was seen as a risk that might cause European gunboats to land on Cuban shores. If any condition was violated, Cuba agreed to permit American troops to restore order. Lastly, the United States set up a naval base at Guantanamo Bay. Cuba was still an independent country, but only in name. In reality, it was under the protection and control of the United States. Even though the Platt Amendment listed conditions for Cuba's independence, the U.S. used it as a way to maintain control over the island. Roosevelt was convinced that all of Latin America was vulnerable to European attack. He dusted off the Monroe Doctrine and made an addition. While the Monroe Doctrine blocked further growth of Europe in the Western Hemisphere, the Roosevelt corollary went one more step. Should any Latin American nation engage in continued wrongdoing, the United States military would get involved. Wrongdoing was a term that included large debts or civil unrest. Europe was to remain across the Atlantic while America would police the Western Hemisphere. The first opportunity to use this new plan came in 1905. The Dominican Republic was at risk of being invaded by European debt collectors. The United States invaded the island nation. The U.S. took the reins in the Dominican Republic until the situation was stabilized. A plan to remain firm. The effects of the new plan were enormous. Roosevelt had a motto: speak softly and carry a big stick. To Roosevelt, the big stick was the new American Navy. By remaining firm in resolve and possessing the Navy power to back its interest, the United States could defend its territory and avoid war at the same time. People in Latin America did not look upon the plan favorably. They resented U.S. involvement as imperialistic. Anger toward the U.S., their large neighbor to the north, grew dramatically. By the end of the 20th century, the United States had sent troops to invade Latin America over 35 times. The actions established an unquestioned influence throughout the hemisphere.